Hello everyone, and welcome back to my top 50 Danganronpa characters. Where we last left off, we discussed number 46, and now we're going to get straight back in it with number 45. So, without further ado, here we go. The next character on our list is Hifumi Yamada, the ultimate fanfic creator, or as I like to call him, the ultimate otaku, because that just sounds better. Hifumi is widely believed to be Danganronpa's worst character, but I think the dislike behind him is kind of misplaced. He very clearly takes his talent seriously, as goofy as it is, and he loves what he does. While he isn't the most entertaining or exciting character in the game, something that makes the dislike behind him justifiable, and the only properly significant thing he does in the first game is, well, die. If you pay attention, you see that, unlike Hero, he actually helps out quite a significant amount in the first two cases of the game, and even in the third case when he dies, he leaves behind a significant clue that busts Celeste and saves everyone. He was a good character, even if he's not the best. He's like Hero, bad, but not like Hero because he's helpful for stuff. When I first encountered Akane, I felt the same way towards her as I did with Hagakure. I felt she was a dumb character who didn't contribute much to the trials or anything else for that matter, and that she didn't deserve to make it to the end. I still feel that way slightly, but there are two main factors that prevent her falling lower. The first is her personality and that, unlike Hero, she's genuinely funny. She's a foodie and a fighter, and I love that kind of character in games. The second is that she actually does become significant in the cases after Case 2, after Nekomaru sacrifices himself to save her and dies in the process. She begins to take things a lot more seriously after that, and that makes her more entertaining as a character. Speaking of Nekomaru, her relationship with Nekomaru throughout the entire game is one of the highlights of Danganronpa 2, one of the things that made it a much better game. Also, secretly, I love how she keeps forgetting people's names. It's time for everyone's least favourite little piece of crap, Hiyoko Saionji. The only reason Hiyoko gets higher than Akane is because I think her character is executed very well. She is incredibly unlikable, but that's the point. Her idea is that she's meant to be a cute-looking character that looks almost like a kid that has a sour attitude that doesn't fit with her appearance, something Hajime makes clear when he first meets her. This is designed to be appealing, and while I agree it's done successfully, that kind of character doesn't appeal to me, which is why Hiyoko is this high. When she died in Chapter 3, I wasn't too upset, and I don't think most people were either. In fact, after Mikan was found to be the culprit, I realised that Hiyoko had it coming, since she treated Mikan like crap the whole game. It only felt right it would bite her in the butt like this, even if Mikan did it under the influence of the despair disease. She's a little more likeable in Danganronpa 3 because she genuinely does some stuff that makes me laugh, but yeah, Hiyoko, you are awful. This next spot goes to both Monomi and Usami. The reason that they're both here is because they are the exact same character, which is why they're both on this spot. The reason that Monomi is a bit higher up, because yes, I agree she's a bit of an insignificant character, even though she's a new character in Danganronpa 2, I felt bad for her for pretty much all of the game. She died at the beginning of the game by Monokuma's hand, obviously resurrected later, and throughout the whole game, the rest of the cast, except probably Chiaki, hates her for no apparent reason, and they resent her for nothing. They just believe that she and Monokuma are on the same side, even though that's clearly untrue. I also find it very funny that herself and Monokuma are like old cartoon rivals, like Tom and Jerry or any other cartoon enemies. And even though she's not particularly exciting, she's entertaining in her own little Monomi way. The mini-game that you're seeing of her right now is also very fun for some reason. Oh, Atua, here we go. As is consistent with Danganronpa V3's lesser important characters, Angie, like Tenko, has one character trait that gets old very fast. Everyone in V3 seems to have their own phrase. Tenko has degenerate male, Kibo has robophobia, Kaito has space, Kokichi has his lies, etc, etc. Angie's by far is the most annoying in the game though. Her trait is that her sworn belief and allegiance to a false god that people believe in on her island, Atua. Her constant reference to Atua sort of ruins her character because it seems like she doesn't have any traits of herself. However, there are some good parts about Angie, and that's why she's a little higher than the list. She genuinely cared about everyone in the 53rd Killing Game, particularly Shuichi, as shown in her free time events, and even though that led her to do crazy things like make models of the dead students and breaking the flashback light, she did it with everyone in mind. However, I knew there was absolutely no chance Angie was going to survive in the game, so when she died in Case 3, I 100% saw it coming. Wait, what? Monokuma is this high up on the list? What are you doing? Okay, look, I know. I can explain. Monokuma is the titular title antagonist and mascot of the series, which is why anyone who watches this video is probably going to question my sanity. The reason he's so high up is because Monokuma is one of the most important characters across the entire franchise, yet he feels like a blank slate. Monokuma, despite his quirky personality and dark humour, only really exists as the force that keeps the killing games going. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate him or dislike him in any way. I've just become so used to him that he's become easy to ignore. There are many characters in the game who outshine him in terms of their personality too. He's the only character that brings the dark side of funny to the series, with the exception of maybe the likes of Genocide Jack. And that much I can credit him for. But still, Monokuma unfortunately falls a little flat because he's just become so uninteresting. Okay, if you didn't hate me for putting Monokuma this high on the list, you are definitely going to hate me for putting Junko just above him. I know that there are many people out there, whether you're a fan of Danganronpa or not, that can all agree that Junko Enoshima is a pretty terrible villain. Junko is the mastermind behind pretty much everything bad that happens in Danganronpa outside of V3. The killing game, the tragedy, everything. The issue is, she is an incredibly underwhelming character despite her cartoonish nature. The reason Junko is this high is because personally, I think she's okay. But only when counting the main series. Her presence outside of Danganronpa 1 is almost always ridiculously stupid, and there are many people in the franchise who don't like her. Really don't like her. And they are perfectly justifiable. Junko is a pretty terrible villain when compared to other villains in anime or visual novels or anywhere for that matter. She made for a pretty interesting twist in the first game, which is why she's higher than Monokuma, but compared to some of the other antagonistic characters, like Nagito and Kokichi, she is incredibly lackluster. Also, for someone who loves the idea of despair and always goes on about how unpredictable it is, it amazes me that everything seems to go to her plan. It's hard being the first character to die in a game, and I think of everyone who dies first in the Danganronpa series, Sayaka has it the roughest. She is, without a doubt, one of those characters that you either love or hate. She's the first character to die in the whole series, and during the first trial, there were a few things that put her in a different light than what you know so far. Up until that point in the game, she seems to be a good friend to Makoto, but the main confusion of Case 1 of the first game is that it's revealed that Sayaka invited Leon to Makoto's room and tried to kill him in an attempt to pin the crime on Makoto and escape. This has led to many people disliking her, But I feel this hate is misplaced and Sayaka's actions were actually justifiable. She was pretty desperate to escape, and she felt that killing someone was the only way she could escape with no problem. It's implied that as she was dying, she felt guilty about pinning everything on Makoto, so giving him a key clue he needed to solve the case was her way of making it up to him. While she most certainly isn't my favourite, like how I said with Hifumi, I don't think Sayaka's hate is very justifiable. I don't think she's that bad.